welcome to the Environmental Activism channel. This is our 4-part series. We're going to be focusing on water, plants and land, animals and bugs, and air. This is Chapter 1 in the beginning of our first series. I'm Olivia, and today we're going to be making a terrarium and learning about the water cycle. You'll be making this in your own home. And then we're going to be talking about water quality, activism, and protection. Why you should care. Come on, let's go learn about the water cycle. First, what is the water cycle? The water cycle is the world's way of moving water around the entire globe. Just like a closed bottle of water, the world is a closed container. The amount of water on the earth has been the same since the beginning of time. So technically, we're still drinking the same water that the dinosaurs drank. There are 3 main states of water: gas, or water vapor, liquid, a glass of water, and solid ice. These 3 states are based on water temperature. So gas forms of water when water vapor gets at 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So when you boil water, that's the temperature. This is water's boiling point. The solid form of water is ice. It freezes and at 0 degrees C and 32 degrees Fahrenheit. This is water's freezing point. The temperature range between water's freezing point and boiling point, or above 0 and below 100 degrees C, is the temperature that water is a liquid. And here's a short example of water turning from a solid of ice, melting into a liquid, and then it'll eventually evaporate to a gas. This is the water cycle. There are 3 main ways that water moves around the earth. The first one is by evaporation. This is when the water rises up from the ground due to repeated exposure to sunlight, and thus heat. When the gaseous water vapor condenses into clouds, the clouds get bigger and bigger. Their temperature starts to drop and the water vapor turns into a liquid. We call this rain. The rain falls onto the earth in a new location because the cloud transported the water vapor across the land. Just as a bus driver picks up people and transports them across the city. This is an important step because all the plants and animals on the land need water, but plants cannot walk to a river to take a drink. The clouds and rain make it possible for the water to reach all of the plants on earth. Today we're going to make our own water cycle that we can see the water evaporate, condensate, and rain down the sides of our terrarium to power our plants. You can see in my terrarium the water starting to condensate on the side of the walls, meaning it's turning from the gas into little water droplets, and then it'll rain down the sides and power my plants. A terrarium is a small model of the earth. The Greek word for earth is terra. Today, our terrariums will be a good example of a closed system. Like Earth, we all fill our bottles with everything they need to survive, and then the cap gets closed, and the plants will grow and the water will cycle around. So, it is important that we reuse items that can harm the environment's health, because the Earth is a closed system. So everything we make gets thrown out and recycled back to us. The plastics we throw on the ground will become part of the earth and the water cycle, which affects everyone's health, the water's health, and the earth's health. So to make our terrarium, you're going to need a clean recycled water bottle. Make sure it has a cap. Rocks for the base. Dirt. Seeds. More if you have smaller seeds. Water. Scissors to cut the bottle. A spoon to scoop the dirt if you want. And tape to seal the bottle. You're going to start by cutting the bottle around completely at 3/4. Use a parent if you need help. You can do this by piercing the bottle removing the cap, and cutting all the way around. Save both pieces. Now take the bottom, fill it 1/4 the way with rocks. Next, fill the rest with dirt to 3/4. This might get messy, so it's a good idea to do it outside. Next, smooth the dirt on the top. Break up any big chunks. Poke 3 holes with your pinky finger. It can be about 1/4 of an inch big. If you have big seeds like I do, you can put 1 seed in each hole. If you have smaller seeds, you can put up to 3 seeds in each hole. You can smooth the dirt over with your finger. Next, take the cap of your bottle, place it on top. Take your tape all the way around the cap. Next, take your water and pour it in the top. Seal your terrarium. And place it in a window with sunlight. So why is water's health important? As your terrarium develops, it's important that we consider the quality of the water being given. As we learned before, the water cycle is essential because it allows plants to receive high quality water. But humans need high quality water as well. However, what happens if high quality water is tainted, and how does that affect the ecosystem around it? Unfortunately, humans are the biggest culprits of ruining our water supply. Over the past century, humans have kept creating and creating, advancing in the fields of science and art, and most of all, manufacturing. By far, the most influential product to ever emerge from manufacturing is plastic. Plastic is something that we all use in everyday life, from plastic bottles to toothbrushes to plastic straws. Plastic is everywhere. Although recycling plants attempt to repurpose plastics into other products, not all plastics end up where they ought to be. In fact, according to National Geographic, out of 8.3 billion metric tons of plastic produced, 6.3 billion metric tons has to become plastic waste. Of that, only 9% has been recycled. To put that into perspective, if we consider the fact that the smallest elephant weighs approximately 2 tons, then that's over 3 billion elephants of waste. Imagine how smelly that would be. With that much plastic, some of it's bound to end up in places where it shouldn't, such as landfills and on the side of roads. So, why should we care about plastic affecting the quality of our drinkable water? Well, plastic does not break down like most materials. Most materials are biodegradable, which means that the material can decompose or break down into dirt. Bacteria helps eat the material just like worms eat dead leaves and turn them into dirt. This means that things like banana peels and apple cores can be decomposed by bacteria and not have a negative effect on the environment. Plastic does biodegrade, but the process takes far longer than any other material. Let's take a banana peel, which takes 2 to 10 days to decompose, but a plastic water bottle, can you guess how long that takes? 1,000 years to decompose. That's even older than your grandparents. In addition, the process of plastic breaking down releases a chemical called biphenyl A, or BPA. BPA is often in plastic bottles and cans, but because it's an easy way to make plastic, it's used a lot. BPA is a potentially dangerous molecule to both plants and animals and the water cycle. Scientists have found out that plastic bottles in landfills can release BPA, which can seep into the groundwater. Groundwater is water that runs beneath our feet, all the way underground in between the cracks of the rocks. Just like in your terrarium, there's rocks at the bottom to make room for the groundwater. And we want to keep our water safe to drink. This means keeping water bottles off the soil, because we learned that the water right under our feet will get picked up by the clouds and moved all over the globe. So our elephant friends that live in the rainforest could drink the same water that's in the potholes in your street after it rains. Remember, our water supply is a closed system here on Earth, so it's our job to keep the chemicals far away from our water.